This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
We're on.
Okay, I'm going to have Shabbos Rabbi Glatstein, Parshas Chayei. So we're going to talk about a topic today, which is a topic of tznius, but still, nevertheless, it's important to be aware of. And Torah v'lilmoid anu tzarach. When Avraham charges Eliezer on the mission to find a shidduch for Yitzchak, so the pasuk says, "Vayomer Avraham el avdoi." Avraham said to his servants, "Zekan beisai, hamoisha b'chol hashalah." He said, "Simna yadcha tachas yirechi." Place your hand under my thigh. A little bit of a strange request. Why was he telling him to do this? So the pasuk continues, "V'ashbi'acha," and I'm going to make you swear by Hashem Elokei hashamayim Elokei haaretz, by the God of heaven and earth, asher lo yisikach isha livni v'mnoi saknani asher anochi yoshev b'kirbay. Why is Avraham having Eliezer swear by placing his hand tachas yirechech, under his thigh? So the Gemara says in Masech Shvuas and Lamed Ches Amud Beis, when you make an oath, when you have Shvuas Hadayanim, when Dayanim make you swear, you need to make a swear. Yeah, you need to take a shvua b'nekitas chayfetz. You need to be holding a davar shebekdusha when you take an oath, either Sefer Torah or the like. And it's actually learnt out from this pasuk. The makar, that when you make a shvua, it has to be b'nekitas chayfetz. It's learnt out from this pasuk of Simna yodcha tachas yirechi v'ashbiacha b'Hashem Elokei hashamayim Elokei haaretz. So interestingly, even though normally the Nekitas Chayfetz is a Sefer Torah, in this case Avraham didn't say let's bring a Sefer Torah, let's bring Tefillin. Avraham said, swear b'Nekitas Milah. It's an amazing thing. This was considered Davar Sheyesh by Kedusha. Now very interestingly, when Yaakov Avinu made Yosef take a Shvua, Al nasik bereni b'Mitzrayim, right? Unesasani mimzayim ukvartani, please carry me out of Mitzrayim, right? And hishav ali, swear to me. So the Targum Yonas Menuzil says like this. Look at number 3 in Parshas Vaychi. Ukarivu yoymei Yisrael l'mamas. The days of Yaakov are approaching. Today, Ukral of Rei Yosef Amalei in Kedoin Ashkachas Rachim Kadamach. If I find favor before you, Shavi Kedoin Idach B'Gzeras Maholti. Please send forth your hand to my Milah, v'sabed kedoinimu tivuk shoit, and act with me kindly and truthfully. Lo chadun tukbarani, don't bury me in Mitzrayim. So Yaakov Avinu says to Yosef, swear to me by my Milah. The same type of thing. Targum Yonas Menuzil continues. Ve'eshkovim avasai, v'tzidlani v'tzemes g'varani b'kvaratan min galal dehu brei, but because Yosef was his son, he didn't want to touch his father's Milah. Elohin Amar Aneh, he said, I'll do it, but I'm not swearing. What? He didn't take the shvua by the Milah. In other words, Yaakov Avinu wanted him to swear by his Milah, but because he was his son, he felt it would be disrespectful. Even though the father told him to do it, he couldn't bring himself to do it. But again, you see this idea that even in times of Yaakov Avinu, this was considered Nekitas Chayfetz.
Yesterday, when we were talking about this in the Shiur, it was a very interesting question that was posed.
Yeah,
the
on
Parshas
this
describes Eliezer as Avdo, Zekan Beiso, Hamoshel B'chol Asherlo. I mean, this guy, Eliezer, was the apotropos. He was the administrator. Avraham trusted him with everything. He was a very wealthy man. So you have all this trust. Now he has to come and ask him to make a shua. If you have such a man that you trusted him with all of this.
Well, you find the same thing by Yosef. Yosef wouldn't want to bury his father in Mitzrayim, in Eretz Yisrael.
Up there because he didn't know if Yosef would be the ruler or things could happen.
Okay, we're not focusing on that. Again, we're on this Indian of Nekitas Chayfetz. Rashi points out, why is Avraham making Eliezer swear by his Milah? Rashi says, Lefi shehanishbat sarach sheyitel biyadoi chayfet shel mitzvah. Kagain sefer Torah, a mezuzah, or tefillin. So then why didn't they take a sefer Torah, a mezuzah, or tefillin? What? Avraham Avinu was mekayim kol Torah kula. He had a sefer Torah, he had a mezuzah, he had tefillin.
He had a cloth?
Why not?
He had everything written down?
He had something. He wore tefillin. V'hamila haisa mitzvah rishayin alai. So why did he pick Milah? It's a strange thing to pick. The Milah was the first mitzvah. Ubalai al yedei tsar. And Avraham Avinu was an old man when the Milah happened. And this was the most beloved of all the mitzvahs because it was his first mitzvah. So there's a Haggah on Rashi that is trying to pick up on the nuance of Rashi. What's Rashi bothered by? Rashi apparently is bothered by why did he pick the Milah and not a Torah, and not a Mitzvah, and not Tefillin? And furthermore, well, why? One second. Why is Avraham saying swear by my Milah? How about let's swear by your Milah? Eliezer was an Eved. The Abdei Avraham also had bris Milah. So what's Avraham saying swear by Milah? You swear by your Milah.
They were Mitzvah. He was Mitzvah.
Avraham was Mitzvah, and at the end of Lech Lecha, he had a V'chol Miknas, right? He was Mitzvah to mal all of his avadim. So Rashi says the Haggah, and Rashi says Rotzaloymar, Mashaloyomar Tachas Yireicheich, V'havalei Lashbiah Ha'eved B'Milah. So you should have sworn on your Milah. This is not Rashi, this is a Haggah on Rashi. Lefisha shel Avraham is a Rishoin Olai. Because Avraham's Milah was before Eliezer. Kaida Milah 7. So since my Milah was first, my Milah was more beloved than your Milah. Happens to be that this innocuous and innocent Haggah on Rashi argues on the Ramban. Because the Ramban says explicitly at the end of Lech Lecha that when Avraham Avinu first maled his children, then his avadim, and he was last. Why? Because if he would be first, he wouldn't be able to mal them. He would be too weak. So first he maled them, and then he maled himself. So in fact, it wasn't Rishayna. It was really Achroina. Look, the Ramban says at the end of Lech Lecha, Ve'ein tam nimal Avraham. Here, let's take a look. You have a Chumash? You've asked me a Chumash? Lech Lecha, Yud Zayin, Chav Zayin. Yud Zayin, Chav Zayin. Thank you. The pasuk says at the very end of Lech Lecha.
Who was Mal Avraham? Was it Ephraim?
So according to Ramban, he maled himself. It's cheaper that way. The Milam charge a lot of money. The pasuk says, "V'chol anshe beisa." Be'etzem hayim is a nimal Avraham v'yishmael benai v'chol anshe beisai yilid bayis v'miknas kezmeis meinachar. So it sounds like it's giving you an order. Avraham, Yishmael, anshe beisai. Says Ramban, that's not the order. It doesn't mean shenimal hu betchila. Aval Yishmael benai nimal betchila. You know who the first person is a good trivia question. Who was the first person in history to have bris milah? Yishmael. Yishmael was the first person. And then v'chol b'nei beisai. Ki kein kosev. Yikach Avraham es Yishmael benai v'es kol yudei beisai. V'achvei chein ulav Avraham ben tishim v'teishan b'yimolai. V'hatam ki Avraham nizdaz mitzvahs milah shalhem tchila. Why did Avraham do them first? U'maloi samhu ba'atzmai. Either he maled them. Oy shazimein lohem moilam harbe. Or Avraham hired moilam hu amir aleim. V'yachar kach molas atzmai. She'ilu hiktem milasai hayachoylai mesukin ba b'fnei zikanasu hayachal l'shtadu milasai. If Avraham would have done his milah first, he never would have been able either to circumcise or even to supervise their circumcision. Okay, so again, what Rashi, the Haggah and Rashi is bothered by is why did Avraham swear by his own milah? Why did Eliezer swear by Avraham's milah? He should have sworn by his own milah. The answer is, the Haggah says, Avraham's milah came first. The Ramban says it's not true. So we're back to the question, then, why is Eliezer swearing by Avraham's milah? He should have sworn by his own milah. Says the Maral, Ve'ein lahakshois sheyishba Eliezer b'milah shaloi dezein kasha. This is not difficult. The kivan the tzarch likach chayfetz. Says the Maral, when it comes to swearing, you need to take a chayfetz. Definition of taking is it has to be something that you're not holding on to, and now you're holding on to it. He says the kivan the tzarch likach chayfetz ein lekichas chayfetz davar shu gufay. You can't take a chayfetz, which is your body. In other words, in the lumdus of Nikitas chayfetz is, you have to take something. There has to be a lekicha. You can't do a ma'isa lekicha to something which is mechuber to your own guf. That's not a taking. You can't say, I'm taking my hand. Your hand was already you. You can't take your hand. So in order for Eliezer to fulfill this inyan of shvua with Nikitas chayfetz, he had to grab onto something which is chutz legufay. So therefore he couldn't do his own, he had to do the milah of Avraham. Now this is not unanimously accepted that for Nikitas chayfetz it has to be chutz legufay. Trumas Hadeshen, Rabbi Yisrael Isserlin writes that when you take a shvuah and there's Nikitas Chayfetz, you don't even have to actually grab onto the item, you only have to put your hand on it. You don't need a lekicha. He says, the Trumas Hadeshen writes, B'shvuah Dairaisa, Anu noyagin b'gvulenu, lishava al hoidois lamasim, shehu shvuah ke'ein dairaisa, shvuas hashutfim, v'yasim yadai ala sefer Torah k'shi munachas lefanav, aval einoi noitloi b'zroyai. You only have to put your hand on it. And in the Sefer Leket Yosha, which is a collection of the Minhagim of the Baal Trumas Hadeshen, he says, this, even when Eliezer swore by the Milah of Avraham, he says, Eino tzorach lita achivez v'yader, rak lahasam yader ala chayfetz, k'may nidan didan. So this may not be in agreement with the Maral. The Maral is taking the concept of Nikitas Chayfetz very literally, that you have to grab onto something, it has to be lekicha, and you can't have a lekicha on something which is gufay. Trumas Hadeshen says you don't even need a lekicha. You don't need this kind of lamdasha act of lekicha. Right.
It doesn't really say grab on.
Correct. Right. And the Trumas Hadeshen seems to say that this that was learned out of the pasuk of Vayasam Averes Yadai. Lamaisa Eliezer did it. In the psukim later it says Eliezer did it. It doesn't say he grabbed on. It just says Vayasam. Okay. Now we're going to another important halachic reason why Eliezer swore by the Milah of Avraham and not by his own Milah. And that is the kasha, the Moshav Zakenim. Moshav Zakenim was one of the Balei Tosfos. There's a Gemara Masechta Nida that says, Rav Tarfon Omer Yad La'ama Tiktzatz. Someone who extends his hand to his aver, to his reproductive organ, should be cut off. In other words, there's actually an Isser in the Torah. There's a halachic Isser. You're not allowed to touch yourself over there. Now, halach l'maisa, how does this apply? It applies like this. Someone who's not married, halachic cannot touch themselves b'makayim where it could cause a kishoy, it could cause a erection. That's a halacha. If you're not married, now someone who is married is allowed to touch himself over there halachically because there's pas b'salai. However, it's considered midas chasidus not even to touch over there, only to there's a certain area at the tip which is not susceptible to this type of thing, which is mutter for anybody to do. Again, there are very precise halachic parameters of this. We're not going to discuss it at the moment on video, but if anybody wants to know, you should look. It's in Shulchan Aruch. It's in Shulchan Aruch. It's important to know. You have to know. When a person goes to Beis HaKisei, it's important to know if someone who's married has more leniency halachically. But the Gemara says a general rule, Yad la'ama tikatze. Somebody who extends their hand over there, it's not proper. So the question is, so how could somebody swear, right? This whole concept. Simna yadcha tachas urechi, Tosfos asks, how could Eliezer swear by the makar milah, Yad la'ama tiktzas v'shumash chazera? Says Tosfos, v'yeshon de dafka bebachor. That's only a young man. Aval zakein loy. But a zakein, someone whose desires have calmed down already, so then it's mutter, and therefore to Avraham was an old man, he's 99 years old, it was okay. It was okay for Eliezer to swear by the Milah of Avraham.
But Avraham still had the capability of children, because he had children later on. So maybe he had the din of a younger man.
Okay, Lamais at the end of the day he was a zakein, and a zakein you're allowed to, right? It doesn't. So again, you see from here, it doesn't mean the person has to be mamish, ready to be put out to pasture. As long as it calms down a little bit, then it would be mutter.
And I can assume that Avraham knew the halacha and he told him to do it anyway.
Right. So that means since he was a zakein, it was mutter. But it could be, I saw in the Sefer Chavatzel Sasharoin, that's why Eliezer did not swear by his own. Why? Because Avraham was a zaken, but Eliezer was not a zaken, so he couldn't swear. He wasn't allowed to swear by his own makayim. Only by Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was a zaken according to this. Or then Tosfos brings down this halacha we mentioned. Eino aser ki me'atara ve'elach. It's only aser to touch the part that's susceptible to kishoy, but the tip would be permitted. Okay, so based on this, we understand why Eliezer swore by Avraham's Milah and not by his own.
Again, just put the hand. You think that, right?
Depends. According to the Maral, you need Nikitas Chayfetz. He did. According to Chumash Hadeshen, all you need is he placed it, so then he just placed it. According to Tosfos, it could be he did. It could be it was Mamish ben Nikitas Chayfetz. It's just that it was mutter on Avraham. Why is it mutter on Avraham? Because Avraham was a zaken, but Eliezer perhaps was not a zaken. By the way, once we're on the topic of Eliezer, I want to tell you an amazing thing. If you look at the end of Masechta Sofrim, it's in the back of Masechta Avodah Zarah. It's not on the sheet. In Parak Chaf Aleph, I think it's the end, one of the last paragraphs of Masechta Sofrim. Brings down like this: Avraham was a big giant. Gadol ba'anokim. Avraham Avinu was the tallest of all the giants. He was as tall as 74 people. And his Eved, Eliezer, you know who Eliezer was? Oigmal Chavasham. Masechta Sofrim said. Perfect Rebbe Eliezer agrees. This doesn't work with the opinion that Vayavai HaPolet, the Polet was Oigmal Chavasham. Okay? But there is an opinion in the Midrash that Eliezer was that Eliezer was Oigmal Chavasham. But Avraham was even taller. Avraham was bigger. And one day Avraham got angry at Eliezer. And he screamed at him, "Gar boy!" And his tooth fell out. Eliezer's tooth fell out. And the Masechta Sofrim says Avraham made beds out of the tooth. Can you imagine ivory beds? Avraham made beds out of the tooth of Oigmal Chabashah, out of Eliezer's tooth. So there's a big problem with this. What do you mean? What do you mean that Avraham made a tooth? The halacha is when you knock out the tooth of your Eved Kanani, is Yatzel Lecheros.
Excuse me. I'll go out.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so the halacha is that when you knock out the tooth of your Eved Kanani, you're Yatzel Lecheros. So if you're Yatzel Lecheros, the Rashash writes in Masechta Gittin that Chaf Aleph Amud Beis that if you knock out your Eved's tooth, who gets to keep the tooth? Right? Who gets to keep the tooth? Who do you think? Normally we say Kol Masha Kana Eved Kana Rabbi, but not if the Eved goes free. He's not an Eved anymore. So then the halacha is the Eved gets to keep the tooth. So how could Avraham make beds out of the tooth of Eliezer?
Give him matana.
So no, you can't get matana. There's no such thing as matana.
Well, you're a free man. The free man. If he's an Eved, then he's Kana Rabbi.
I says Avraham took the tooth. How could he take the tooth? So the answer is like this: there's a Gemara in Kedushin, Chav Dalet Amud Beis, that says that the only time the Eved is Yatzel Lecheros is if you give a blow straight to the tooth. But if you give a blow to the Eved and because of the blow the tooth falls out, so it's an indirect blow, the Eved does not go free. So if you look carefully in the Lashon of Masechta Sofrim, it doesn't say that Avraham knocked out Eliezer's tooth. It says Gar boy, he screamed at him. That's not worse than an indirect knockout. So therefore Eliezer did not go free, and therefore Eliezer did not go free, and therefore Avraham was allowed to keep the tooth because Kama Shekana Eved Kana Rabbi.
That's my brother was a professional engineer. How do you make it better for tooth?
By the way, where did Avraham get Oigmal Chabashim from as a slave? That's a pretty good slave. So the Masechta Sofrim says that Nimrod gave it to Avraham as a gift. Nimrod gave him a gift, Oigmal Chabashim. Okay, if you want to see more about it, you can look at the end of Masechta Sofrim. Back to the sheet.
He tried to kill him, now he's giving him a gift.
What?
Nimrod tried to kill Avraham, now he's giving him a gift.
He realized it.
It's like, it's like Germany, you know? Okay. It's Wieder Good Machen. Okay, anyway. If you look in the Malbim.
The one that saved by Noach, he held on.
That's a different Midrash. This Midrash does not agree with that. Okay? Okay. This Midrash says the Midrash is Chalukas. If you look in the Malbim, according to Malbim, there could be another reason why Eliezer swore by the Milah of Avraham Avinu, not by his own Milah. The Malbim writes in Parshas Lech Lecha, the Milah of an Eved is different than the Milah of a Yid. The Milah of a Yid is a circumcision where you're entering into a covenant with the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Milah of an Eved, there's no covenant that the Eved is entering with the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's just that if you own property, which an Eved is your property, he has to have a Milah. But it's not that he is now all of a sudden entering into a special bris between him and the Rebbeinu Shalom. And therefore it could be the Milah of an Eved is not a davar shabekdusha, it's not a matter of holiness. The Malbim says, look at number 12. Gam Yelid Bayis.
How about Ishmaelim, the Milah?
No, right, that's it.
Is that for Mitzvah?
Now the question is, by the way, Yishmaelim. Do Yishmaelim have to do bris milah today? No.
He'll do it.
They don't. They don't. There's no mitzvah in the Torah. Because it was only Yishmael and not his descendants. But the Bnei Keturah, in, I think it's in this week's Parsha, the end of Parshas Chayei. Ula Avraham who did he take? He took Keturah. Vatela, Zimran, and Lakshin, and Makshirai, Yakshan, Medan, Midyan, Yishbak, Shuach. And it says, there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin that says on the words, Esbrisi Hefer, Esbrisi Hefer, L'Rabois B'nei Keturah, that not only do those 6 guys have to do Milah, not only, the Esbrisi Hefer, that the B'nei Keturah have to do Milah. There's Machlokes Rashi and the Rambam. Rashi says only those 6 guys, Yakshan, Zimran, Medan, Midyan, Yishbak, Shuach. The Rambam says not only them, but their descendants today have to do Milah as well.
Who's Nick Torah today? Who is it?
It's a certain type of Arab. Therefore the Rambam, since the Bnei Keturah are mixed up,
All of them.
they all have to do Milah. According to Rashi, they don't have to do Milah. It's only those 6 Bnei Keturah themselves, not their descendants. In any event, if you look in the Malbim says, Gam Yilin number 12, Bayis Yaf Miknas Kesef Mikol Ben Nechar Hagam She'enoi Mizaracha. Even if they're not your children, Mikol Zeh Himo Yimol. Aval B'kol Zeh Lo Yishva Milas Ho Avodim El Milas Habonim. Ki Ma Sho'eved Himo Yimol Hu Rak Mitzad Shu Yilid Beischo Miknas Kaspecha. Hu Einoi Nichnas B'zeh B'vris Ke'isha Yisraeli. He doesn't enter into a covenant like a Jew. Umilasa Yirak Mitzad Shu Kinyanecha. His milah is just because you own him. U'kamoishen etzdavu the Shabbos Laman Yanuach Shorcha V'chamerecha. Aval the Hayisa Brisi B'vsarchem Zeyia Lebris Oilam B'inyan Shemilas Habonim Mitzad Shem Nechlasam Bris. In other words, the Malbim holds that when you circumcise a Jew, that means he's entering into a covenant. When you circumcise an Eved, there's no matter of Kedusha in that Milah, and that could be why Eliezer swore by the Milah of Avraham Avinu and not by his own Milah. Now, there's another interesting thing. When you talk about the Makom HaMilah as a Davar Shebekdusha, what is it? It's a scar. What do you mean it's a Davar Shebekdusha? Not Davar Shebekdusha. The Milah happened a year ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. How do we understand the mitzvah of Milah? Is the mitzvah of Milah a one-time mitzvah?
The covenant is continuing.
Or, the covenant continues. The question is, but does the mitzvah, is there a kiyum ha-mitzvah even in the aftermath of the bris milah? So we look at, what? It's very nice, it's nice. There are a lot of signs. There's signs on everywhere. There's stop signs, or yield signs. So we want to know, is it davar shel yesh ba kedusha?
No, but it's
It's very nice. Okay. Good. Question is, but is it a davar sheyesh ba kedusha? Is there a kiyum ha-mitzvah even now? You say, no, the kiyum ha-mitzvah happened already, and now, you did it. So there's a fascinating Gemara, the famous Gemara. The Gemara says, Chaviv in Yisrael, that Hashem surrounded us. The Gemara Menachos Mem Gimel Medbeis. The Gemara says, Klal Yisrael is beloved. That Hashem encircled us with mitzvahs. You have tefillin on your head, tefillin on your arms, tzitzis, mezuzah, sheva bayoim hilal ticha, mishvatei tzidkecha. 7 mitzvahs. What are the 7? Tefillin shel yad, tefillin shel rosh, tzitzis, mezuzah.
Tzitzis Arba.
That's 4.
Tzitzis is 4.
So Rashi says tzitzis is 4. Why? Because you have 2 tefillin, you have 4 tzitzis, and you have mezuzah. Right? That's 7. 2. I have a question for you. You get 4 mitzvahs when you wear tzitzis? You said it. What's Rashi talking about? You get 4 mitzvahs. Why do you count it as 4? It's 1 mitzvah. Shoyad and Shorosh is 2 mitzvahs. So Ben Yoyada asks, what's Rashi talking about? Tzitzis is 4. He says, it's wrong. Ben Yoyada says, you know what you know what they are? Shoyad Shorosh, and then Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin, Shal Yad Shal Rosh. And then Tzitzis, Tcheles, and Mezuzah. Those are the 7. What? They're always Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin, he says. That's Ben Yoyada Shitase.
You would, but that time you would not have something.
No, that's not. That's the. Ben Yoyada says, yeah, Ben Yoyada writes about this. Ben Yoyada says that there was always Rabbeinu Tam. This is the old, an old. That's what you think. But, no, they're both tefillin. Moshe Rabbeinu wore 2 pairs. According to Ben Yoyada, that Rizal says that Moshe Rabbeinu wore both. Makam yesh b'rosh v'shal yad laniach shnei zugot tefillin.
Isn't Cheles part of tzitzis though? Why is it a separate mitzvah?
It's an extra mitzvah. In other words, we don't have tcheles, right? So we get the mitzvah of tzitzis. We would have, it would be an extra mitzvah. But to count tzitzis as 4, why would it be 4? It's one mitzvah. So the Gemara says like this: when David HaMelech went into the bathhouse, he was very upset. He saw he was arami mitzvahs. How could it be? And then he said, Baruch Hashem. When he saw the Milah, what did he say? Sasa anoichi alam rasecha k'maitzei shalra. That's the problem. What in the world is the Gemara talking about? Why was he happy that he had a Milah? What mitzvah is he doing? He doesn't have any mitzvahs though. What do you mean? He's not doing the mitzvah of Milah. It doesn't say he was looking for oisais. He's looking for mitzvahs. There's no. What's the mitzvah of Milah? David HaMelech, normally he was happy. He had talis. He had tefillin. When you have talis, you're mekayim a mitzvah. When you have tefillin, you're mekayim a mitzvah. When you have mezuzah, mezuzah's not an ois. When you have mezuzah, you're mekayim a mitzvah. But now, bris, he was mekayim a mitzvah when he was 8 days old. Now he's not mekayim a mitzvah.
Once you put out mezuzah, put out 10 years ago.
That's because the mezuzah's up. But pashtus in the mitzvah of Milah is that it's an act of cutting the foreskin. Once you cut the foreskin, you're mekayim the mitzvah. It's very nice. It's an ongoing ois. It's an ongoing ois, but it's not an ongoing mitzvah. The ongoing mitzvah. Right now, you're mekayim the mitzvah of bris. You're getting a mitzvah now for bris.
No, now you're a mole. Now you're a mole.
Very good. But so why was David?
I can eat Korban Pesach. If not, I can eat Korban Pesach if I have a mole, right? So I'm going all the time.
Very nice. You could do, and we might not let you in the Shiur. But David HaMelech wasn't happy. David HaMelech wasn't. David HaMelech was happy. He says, Baruch Hashem, I get a mitzvah. I'm orami mitzvahs. He said, oram b'loy mitzvah. So from here, Marach Zarul learns out that the mitzvah of Milah is to be a nimal, and kolzman that you're a nimal, you're mekayim a mitzvah, not an ois. Not that I have an ois. I know the ois. I got the ois part. You're mekayim the mitzvah of being a nimal. The mitzvah is to be a nimal. The mitzvah, again, the mitzvah is not to mal. The mitzvah is not to cut. The mitzvah is to be a nimal. You see from this Gemara that David HaMelech, Baruch Hashem mekayim the mitzvah now that I'm. What's the mitzvah? The mitzvah of being a nimal. So now we understand why Simna Yad Chatas Yirechi. He's not just using an ois; he's using a chefza shel mitzvah. It's like a talis, like a tefillin. What do you mean? It's like a tefillin? No, this is a chefza shel mitzvah. That's right. At every moment that a person is a nimal, they're mekayim the mitzvah of being a nimal. Actually, the Beis Halevi in the Tshuvas in Chelik Beis in Mem Zayin, he says there are 2 parts of the mitzvah. One chelik of the mitzvah is the act of circumcision, and one is the result of being a nimal.
So the mitzvah on the father is what? To perform the act.
Or what's the mitzvah on the father?
To perform the
or that you could declare, is it to perform the act, or to see to it that the son gains the status of being a nimal?
By the act.
Right. By the way, the Rabbi Chayei says an amazing thing. We'll end this segment with this. Rabbi Chayei says that Avraham Avinu said, "Simna yad chatachas yirechi," and I'm going to make you swear by the God of heaven and earth. I understand if you swear by a Sefer Torah or a Tefillin, so you're swearing by Hashem, God of heaven and earth. How by swearing in the Milah are you swearing by Hashem and Lekei Hashem Lekei Aretz? What? Says Rabbi Chayei. What? Yeah.
Why do you swear by the brit? Why do you swear by the brit? Why do you swear?
Yeah. Sorry, just.
Rabbeinu B'chayei
V'al derech the Midrash says like this: Simna yadcha tachas reich v'ashviacha hakol davar echad shekacham Rabbi Glatstein zechron levracha hishbiu b'mitzvahs Milah. He made him swear by the Midrash ha-mitzvah mechodesh eslai. It was a new mitzvah. Umash hizkar b'Hashem l'kei Hashemayim. The answer is like this: the Torah we know. What is Torah? Torah is all shemaisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if the Torah are names of Hashem, then every mitzvah of the Torah is also names of Hashem. And therefore, by swearing by the Milah, it's swearing by the name of Hashem. So now we understand one more thing. Yaakov Avinu is cooking food for the levaya for the B'tira of Avraham Avinu. And the Esav comes in, B'hu Ayef. And he sells him the B'chayra. And Yaakov Avinu says, Hishav Ali! Hishav Alai. So the Mizrahi asks, why didn't Yaakov Avinu tell Esav to swear to me by his Milah? So the answer is, because we know that Esav was Mashachar Lasai. Esav was somebody who covered up the Milah. And therefore it did not have the Kedusha of Nikitas HaChefetz Shel Mitzvah. And it could be that is why Yaakov Avinu did not ask Esav to swear b'makam Milasa. This is some of the...
Milasa Shel himself.
Yaakov Avinu, you wanted Yaakov Avinu to swear by his own Milah? I don't think Yaakov will say, I'm not going over there. You know, Yaakov, that Yaakov doesn't think. Okay, well hold over if anybody...
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.